The Football Pod on OTB Sports.
In partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship.
Check out #TheToughest for more.
Well, how are you all doing? You're very welcome along to episode 15 of the Football Pod. James O'Donoghue, Paddy Andrews, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tom.
Good evening.
The All-Ireland champions have been dumped out of their provincial championships. Long time since we've seen that happen.
Quarter-final stage as well, wasn't it? That's massive.
2006, Derry stung them after they won the All-Ireland in 05. That was Tyrone were beating them back in 06.
And they kept them scoreless in the first half that day.
Yeah, and they weren't far off it this week keeping them scoreless. Like, it was unbelievable to watch, wasn't it?
It was. Tyrone just didn't bring it. They just didn't get to the championship intensity. And you could tell that Derry were so prepped for that game.
Yeah.
Even, did you hear when who took the penalty again? McGuigan.
Shane McGuigan,
yeah.
He said that when he missed the penalty in the last league game,
Yeah, seen
that he knew he was going to take the next penalty in the Tyrone game. Do you know, he just had it in his head so early that he was going to take it.
Gallagher rang him the next day.
No,
Yeah.
Rory rang him.
Yeah.
Rory rang him and said, I missed a penalty in the last league game against Meath. And Rory rang me the next day and said, if we get a penalty against Tyrone, you're hitting it. So for the next 3-4 weeks, I had 2 or 3 balls every night and practice hitting it into that corner. Like, Paddy, we mentioned it last week. If you go back and listen to the Rory Gallagher interview on the Football Pod, you know that man is eyeing up one thing and one thing only this year, and that is the Ulster Championship.
Well, he said it. He said it in the off season last year. They would have been so disappointed losing that game to Donegal last year, and they were flying throughout the National League. They steamrolled everyone in Division 3. They were gearing up to take out Donegal and Ballybuffane. They lost by a point, one kick, and they had so many opportunities to win that, and there was no backdoor. So it was just such a frustrating end to the season last year for Derry. And this year, like I said, Rory said that, what was it, October, November time? They were going to be gunning for this championship. The only issue for them, I suppose, is that they play Monaghan next. You know, it's such a difficult championship to come through and win. But it was a statement victory. The 2 standout performances I felt from the weekend were Kildare absolutely dismantling Loud and racking up a big score. And obviously Derry then in Healy Park as well. 2 really kind of statement victories. But for Derry, their setup defensively, their energy, their attitude, like see McGuigan's reaction when he scores the penalty, you could just see they were so focused on that game. And Tyrone, there's been warning signs all year for Tyrone. They've been up and down performances, really inconsistent. Even in their win over Fermanagh a couple of weeks ago, a terrible first half display. And you kind of think they got it out of their system with that second half, but they never got out of the blocks yesterday. And they could have no complaints. And then it just started getting messy for them. You know, the sendings off, the discipline. They're in a tough place. They have a few weeks before they're out again, and they'll need it. They'll need to regroup. But yesterday was about Rory Gallagher and that Derry team. It was a brilliant, brilliant performance for them.
It was savage. The game of the weekend, I called it last week. It was going to be in Ennis, and I was there on Saturday night, boys. My God.
Penalties.
Outrageous.
They were brilliant penalties. There was 4 soccer players taking them.
Yeah,
that's
they
right.
In the eyes, going across the body, opening the body. Savage quality penalty.
So casual, like, yeah.
Did you see the photograph of Naughton, Nash, Donovan, Corbett, and Robbie Burke all lining up to take the penalties? Did you see the 5 of them were in? There's a great photograph. They look so confident. And speaking to people, they were Limerick's 5 takers, no matter what. You know, who was on the pitch, they were always going to be the 5 takers. Those boys are ready to go. Clare, unfortunately, injuries caught them. Tuberty was off the pitch. Cleary didn't take one. Sexton was injured. I'm not sure. Sexton was injured. And they didn't have the regular penalty takers on the pitch. And you could see it,
to be fair.
And like what was pointed out to me afterwards, and I thought it was a bit harsh on anyone who likes black boots, because I've got 3 pairs of black boots outside in the car. But only one of the Limerick footballers had black boots. There was pink, there was red, there was light blue.
Soccer lads.
They're all Nike Vapors. They were absolutely
real
the penalties to wear the pink ones.
Yeah, 100%.
But the Clare penalties were poor. It was like the first time ever lining up to take a penalty.
Yeah, O'D had a mighty game. O'D had a mighty game, and his just went ballooned. It was like Beckham against Greece, and then Connor Jordan's. I don't know whether that glanced the post, but it just went wide. Joe McGann took his penalty very well. It's
very nice.
Tough. Paddy Andrews penalties in championship football.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's like you do wonder how much practice they would have done in that scenario, because it's such
Maybe
a
one
unique
night,
thing.
I'd say.
Is that enough? Games are going to start being decided by this now.
Yeah.
It's a new thing, new phenomenon in GAA penalty shootouts.
It is a phenomenon. Yeah.
I'd love to see the ratio of like how many games go to extra time and still ended a draw after extra time. Like it's high.
Yeah, it's
Do you know,
pretty
because
high.
they're so
It's pretty
tight and
high.
cagey that there is, once it's a draw in normal time, it probably will go to penalties.
Yeah. James, do you
Lads,
practice?
I think we'll see a few more penalty shootouts throughout the summer.
I think
Imagine
so.
this
Savage.
in like an All-Ireland semi-final or an All-Ireland final.
I couldn't.
I would love it. I'd be
Incredible
behind the goal.
stuff, It'd be
Yeah,
unbelievable.
did you see that?
I'd like to see it.
I put up a video of all the kids. They had all lined up behind the town end. And next thing, word came through the town. I don't know how they got word.
Sprinted around.
But it was like a stampede, lads. It's like something from the Lion King. It was stampede going around the side of the grounds. And the photograph, there's an amazing photograph. Piers from Sportsfile took it of Robbie Burke lining up to take it. And it's like something from the Champions League final or something like that. All these fans roaring and screaming, but they're only 10-year-old kids. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
cool.
It was remarkable stuff. Did you practice penalties much, James? You buried a couple in your time in championship football. You scored one.
I tried to send the keeper the wrong way. So like I never really had to practice ping it into the corner, do you know?
Oh, okay.
I kind
You're like a Jorginho, like a stutter.
No, but I had a short enough run up, and then I kind of tried to wait to see did the goalie move and try and put it the other way. So it never had to be like an outstanding penalty.
But are you giving the eyes, or are you shaping, or what way is that happening?
Oh, there's all sorts of shapes being thrown. I suppose it's but if you can actually, it was one of my club mates, David Sullivan, taught me that when you're taking a penalty, he's a savage penalty taker, in all fairness. And if you're running up to the ball as slow as you can, and you can keep the eyes in the top of your head, so you can actually still see the goalie as you're striking it, then you can change your mind.
See,
halfway
there's
through.
there's a lot in it, lads.
There is.
Crazy.
I think if you're going up to take a penalty after how many minutes did they play? 95 to 100 minutes they probably played.
Fair off. Yeah.
Pressure situation, and you have to ping it into the side netting. Like that is no joke. Like there's way more room for error if you kind of try and send the keeper maybe the wrong way.
In fairness, the penalty spot is a bit closer as well nowadays. Like if you put you put a right bit of power into it.
Yeah, but there's no rule on the goalie coming out like there is in soccer. He doesn't have to stay on his line. Like,
oh, does he not?
He can come out and smother the ball nearly.
Can you remember what was going through your head as you put the ball down the spot against Cluxton in 13?
Oh, you scored in that.
Not much, I'd say.
Did you look at him? Did you look at Stephen Cluxton?
I did. Yeah.
He
No,
went the
actually,
wrong way.
do you know what I did?
The wrong way.
Yeah, he went the wrong way. Yeah. I just shaped it kind of to ping it across the body and then just opened it up last second.
Oh yeah.
Because if I went across my body the way he went, he'd have saved it.
The big save off Guinea in the 19 final.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it was well prepped for that. Like.
Yeah. Did he? Yeah. Like goalies probably do a bit of work as well on the penalty taker.
Yeah.
So you have to throw in a Panenka every so often as well.
Who took it to outrage?
Benzema.
Oh yeah.
Magic.
Paddy, was there any threat after you dived against Henley? Was there any threat of you taking that penalty in 16? Or
I was just good. I didn't finish it myself. I should have scored. Like. No, Dermot was on it. We did practice them now, I have to say. And particularly in my last season in 20, we would have done penalty shootouts ourselves, just in case. I think was that the first year it came in.
Okay.
And we never got to that, thank God, but we would have practiced it definitely, yeah. And then even throughout my career, there'd be 3 or 4 lads, Mannion, Conley, Cormac Costello, Dean Rock. Yeah, they would be practicing penalties. 100%.
I'm just looking at O'Donoghue now. He's putting the ball down. Rory O'Carroll is running by him. Doesn't say anything to him. He's keeping his eyes on the ball, hands on the hip. He's looking at the referee, waiting for the whistle.
Pure class, isn't he?
Cluxton's on the line. Oh yeah, he just opens the body. You put that into the stanchion. That hit the stanchion. You took that well. Did it not?
Think it did.
Okay, 20 minutes. That was 3-3 to 1-6 after 20 minutes. Outrageous game of football.
Savage again.
We had big news last week, boys.
We did.
Massive announcement. We're going on the road. It's very exciting. Yeah, so we've revealed our first date. We are going to be on the road a couple of times this summer. We're hoping this is going to be a big part of the football pod going into the future, getting out and about, getting to live events. We
We're
cannot
getting
wait
to
for
New
it.
York. Is New York one of the venues now?
Keep applying the pressure, Paddy. I'm trying to apply the pressure upwards. You keep pushing on to me, and I'll keep pushing it up. We'll try
I'll
and get
drop
there.
it in there.
Yeah, and I did tell you about the fella in the YouTube comments trying to get us to Chicago, so I must follow up on that one as well.
I'll do Chicago, yeah.
I would be willing to travel as well.
On June 2nd, Thursday, June 2nd. Now, let me just paint this picture for you. The 4 provincial finals would have been the weekend before in Leinster, Connacht, Ulster, and Munster. The upcoming weekend of June 4th and 5th, the bank holiday weekend, it'll be round 1 of the qualifiers, which is looking very, very tasty already. And at Thursday night, June 2nd, we are in Castlebar in the Royal TF Theatre. We cannot wait for it. Tickets have been flying out the gate. You can get them on Ticketmaster, or if you search for otbsports.com/events, you'll get them there and you can join us on the night. It is an over 18s event because there will be pints. So it is an over 18s
stipulation we had in our contract that there
there
must be points at this show. Like.
Exactly. So we can't wait for it. It's the first time we've been doing this on Zoom, Paddy. 45 episodes, you know. So it's going to be amazing to get it out into a live scenario. Thankfully, I've had a bit of prep here. I did Andy Moran's book launch in the Royal TF Theatre, so I know my surroundings. Do you know, like getting out for a recce before a match, you like to check out the pitch. So I've been there. I kind of know there won't be any nerves. When was the last time you performed in front of a crowd that big, Paddy? It's probably 2019, was
it? My wedding.
Okay.
The 100L speech there for a couple of hundred people there. That was daunting enough. I didn't get down to Andy's thing. I was chatting to you guys after as well, and I know it was a great night.
Great. Yeah.
Look, the Mayo supporters are renowned for their passion and they're backing their team. So we're expecting a big crowd. I'm sure there will be. I'm sure it'll be an interesting toing and froing with the crowd and ourselves on stage. But it should be a great night. And like I say, the first of a couple we're going to do over the summer. So looking forward to getting down there. I hope Mayo are still in the bloody championship.
They will be. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. Mayo will be there. James, preparing to face Mayo, you had a couple of interesting battles yourself against various Mayo defenders over the years. Would you approach those games in any way different when you're going to Mayo?
Not approach them differently, but I suppose they were always very physically demanding games, like because they didn't get bodies massively behind the ball, so there was always opportunities, you know, to take on your man, sprint out, get a ball, take him on. So it was a real footballing game, but like they're almost the most physically demanding. So when you're marking a Higgins or a Keegan, like you're going toe to toe with someone with room and space, and there's not often games nowadays with that build up. Like very often going into game, you're kind of thinking, right, if I get it, there's going to be 6 or 7 fellas around me, probably around the full forward line. Against Mayo, it was very much your battle. And it was a great way to prepare for a game. It was like traditional, honest football. Yeah, it was class. I used to love those games. The
game in Limerick must be one of the highlights from your career. The colour and the noise. It must be one of those moments.
Yeah, that was incredible. You don't often look back, obviously, while you're still playing, but when people bring it up now, it is nice to look back. Like the atmosphere was sensational, and like Kerry fans are brilliant, but Mayo fans, like they rocked the place, you know, and just the colour.
Well, they broke onto the pitch.
Yeah, they got a little excited that night.
Were you close?
You better be in Castlebar, actually, the fella. He should come to the live event.
He'll be in the front row.
The fella who came on the field.
Was that on your side of the pitch, or were you on the other end? Was that your corner?
No, we were Kerry defence, was it not?
Oh, was it Kerry defence? Was it?
It was our defence, yeah. They were unlucky that day, though. Aidan Shea got a clash of heads with Killian O'Connor.
Yeah,
like I think they both had to go off.
They did.
And they were at their peak of their powers at the time, like, so we got a stroke of luck there.
Your clubmate Jonathan Lyne obviously had a savage impact in extra time that day. We talk about games going to extra time and penalties. That is one of those games that could have gone there if that was in place back then.
Oh, it would have been incredible.
Oh my God. Yeah. Paddy, you obviously had a right few battles against Mayo as well. How are you going to prepare to take the stage? Because I'll be honest with you, I can't wait to see how you deal with a Mayo crowd, because we are going to be handing the mic around. One of the big things is getting our questions in from the Football Pod listeners. So, you know, I'm not going to say anyone's going to rush the stage, but we will be handing the mic out.
I look forward to that. Now, it's the same as James, the games we would have had against them, some iconic battles that you look back on. And exactly that. Playing a forward, you just knew it was just a physical game. You're right. It's a very different. Like even if you look at, say, what Derry did yesterday to Tyrone, and they had loads of bodies back, and it was nearly a really strong structure they had. Where now it was they total confidence in themselves. James Horan said to him, was like, we don't care how good you forwards think you are, we're going to put one of our defenders on you and he's going to deal with you. And that was their attitude, and that was the attitude the players had. And the battles were incredible. And like I say, you have massive respect for them. I have to admit that. We probably didn't get on as teams at the time. And when you're in it, you don't care about anyone else. It's just you're trying to focus on your own team. Now stepping out of it, definitely you look back and some of those players, Keegan, still playing now, Higgins, Colin Boyle, Donny Vaughan, these fellas, like they're serious battles we had over the years. They're some of the best games we've ever played in, And I think it'll be a good night down there. I'll be ready for it. Don't worry about me. I'll be ready to go.
The Wolf will be there. The
Wolf will be there. He'll be ready for it.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. So that's Thursday, June the 2nd. Please do go check out tickets. We'd love to see you there. I've had a couple of clubs actually on to me. They're talking about team bonding sessions. We did a bit on that a couple of weeks ago. And a couple of clubs talking about getting buses down. So get in touch in DMs if you want to let us know that you're coming. We'd love to hear from you. So that'll be great. And it's open as well to all counties. Like we're going to be talking about Mayo. We're going to have a Mayo legend or two there in the night. All to be revealed. But we are going to be talking about the championship in general because it's really heating up in that week. Thursday, June the 2nd, leave insert weather guaranteed. It's going into the bank holiday weekend. Let's start it the right way. So we can't wait for that. Lads, a busy weekend. We're going to get into it. Let me just run through the results really quickly. Monaghan 23, down 2-7, a 10-point difference there. Tyrone 10 points, Derry 118, an 11-point difference there. In the Leinster quarterfinals, Meath 4-13, Wicklow 112, 10 points in the difference. Kildare bet Loud by 16 points, 222-12. Dublin 124, Wexford 4 points, 23. Westmeath 313, Longford 14, an 8 points difference. Waterford 1-8, Tip 213, an 8-point difference. Limerick Clare obviously was decided on penalties. The one close game this weekend and it went right down to the wire. And in Roscommon Sligo, Roscommon won with 12 points, 23-11. Sligo had a man sent off very, very early in that game. And just to note, the Leinster semi-final draw was made last night. It's Kildare against Westmeath and Meath against Dublin. Paddy, we nearly had you last year. You won't play us outside of Croke Park. We're coming free.
Same as last year. Both good games, if I recall. We were there on the day, the two of us. That'll be good. They're in Croker, I see. People were getting a bit worked up, were they? Saying it should be moved.
Let's come back to that. I want to come back to that in a couple of minutes.
But in Leinster, does the first team out of the draw, that's not a thing, is it?
No, in Leinster, basically
Just Leinster.
Everything is done to keep Dublin in Croke Park.
How many people will go to that game?
They're not making it's going to be half full, like, and then
will there be 35,000?
And Westmeath and Kildare people are going to leave during Dublin Meath, like.
Yeah.
They're not hanging around for that.
There was that double header last year. There was about 30,000 at it. It was a nice, lovely day. And anyway, if you played in Croke Park and have played in a lot of these games, it's an incredible stadium. I think if you have players, they love playing there from all the counties. But in terms of atmosphere, like if there's less than 60,000 in Croke Park, it's flat.
Yeah.
Like even if you have 50,000 in there, it can still be very. Look, you need the games to be competitive to bring the crowd and get them involved in it. But if it's not full and that double header is not going to be anywhere near full,
like I just don't know why the Leinster Council aren't looking at this and going, we've had 10 years where our championship hasn't been up to scratch, and we've had 10 years of semi-finals where you can hear the players talking to each other and you can hear people having a chat when there's 10-15 points in the difference after 45 minutes. And I know last year Meath probably had a third quarter where I got very excited, Paddy, sitting beside you in the stadium.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I imagine like we were there for Kildare, Dublin and Newbridge. And I know Dublin were on the wrong side of it. Dublin had a couple of goal chances that day. Whatever about the results, the atmosphere was ferocious.
Yeah, no, it is.
Newbridge was rocking. It was rocking.
Could they put them in Portlaoise or
Tullamore
maybe and get what 20,000? Would you get 20,000?
Yeah, you would though. But that
full house though. You're right. And like Jimmy, you're talking about one of your best games down in Limerick in the Gaelic grounds. Full house, packed to the rafters. You look at the hurling there, Limerick Waterford last weekend. as well. Saturday night, packed Gaelic grounds. It's just a class atmosphere. You're not going to get that in Croker.
No. But the thing that makes Championship is the atmosphere. Like, it's just a different vibe around the place. When you go into Croke Park, it's half full. It just zaps that. You might as well be playing. There's actually a better atmosphere in league games. Like, if you put 30,000 into Clarny, the place is absolutely electric.
Yeah.
So I just think you're missing a chance. I know players like playing in Croke Park, but I think
of course,
if they actually thought about it, it's way better to pack a stadium with 30,000 than play.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, it's obviously the Leinster Council to make the decision, and there was a couple of people cribbing over the weekend that the price of tickets into the 2 Cusack Park, so Cusack Park in Ennis, was 15 quid, and look at the value you got for that. Cusack Park in Westmeath was €25 on the same night at the same time in a game that was pretty much over, I think 25-30 minutes into it. I know Longford had a bit of a comeback, but it just didn't really make sense, so it's the Leinster Council to make the call about where that game ends up going. I just think it'd be great for the provincial towns. You bring it to Tullamore, you bring it down to Nolan Park. Yeah. You're getting the Dubs and the Meath fans all traveling down. It's a day out. I just think it's a pity. I think it's an opportunity.
They're not even on telly or anything, are they?
No, that just shows you how far the Leinster Championship has fallen, and we know it.
They're not on telly.
No.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's cat.
But it's where the provincials have fallen to.
But the provincials they're rubbish. It was like Munster Championship, fair enough. That was a great game between Limerick and Clare, but they could do something so much better,
but Limerick and Clare are going to play in the league next year, and you could have the same thing,
Yeah. The only thing is, what we have seen is the way the Derry fell off in the league. It just proves, does league form matter at all? Once you get your mentality right for a championship match, there's some difference. There's just some difference in the league and championship.
It is.
Do or die.
You put a lot of stock in how teams perform in the league. And you look at Galway, absolutely obliterated Derry in that game. And
if they played now,
Derry don't get promoted. Armagh are everyone's second team through the league. The style of play they're playing, they're flying it, and then they have a terrible championship outing. And Derry yesterday come out and give arguably the performance of the season to date. So you can't read too much into it. It's decent for a guideline, I suppose. But no, it's a tricky one to call. And as you've seen with our predictions.
Our predictions were too bad.
We managed to get even one right in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, we did. Don't worry. I'll bring through your scores.
I backed the Dubs to beat Wexford, so that's one for me.
Did you? Right. You are listening to episode 15 of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue on Tommy Rooney. It's brought to you every week by AIB, proud sponsors of the Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more. We're going to be back right after this. We're going to break down this weekend's games. We're going to preview the 3 games that are coming up this weekend and give the lads predictions. We're going to take a couple of questions from the Football Pod listeners, and we're going to wrap it up with our fantasy Gaelic teams. Just going to put it out there that I got 150 points this week. We're back after this. You're very welcome back to episode 15 of the Football Pod. I've got Paddy Andrews with me. I've got James O'Donoghue with me. James, can I start with you?
Please do.
How impressed were you with Derry? How impressed were you with Derry at the weekend?
Oh, so impressed. So impressed. And do you remember we said a couple of weeks ago that those Ulster Championship matches, they're kind of there's so much emotional energy and so much kind of championship feel to those games. It is a case of whoever comes out of those blocks the fastest, the strongest, and the best. And Derry were able to bring themselves up to that level, but Tyrone could not get there. They just couldn't get there. And Derry just blew them away. And I must say, I was so impressed with their physicality, their fitness, their shooting. They got up the field, their half-back line was kicking points. Mm-hmm. They weren't rushing anything. They were taking it nice and easy, but they were punching holes. And one thing I saw that I thought was very interesting was the way they brought the ball out of defense. They didn't do it like a lot of teams fall into a trap of bringing it out very slowly and kind of lethargic. And next thing, there's a block back and you're hand passing around. Rodgers, a couple of times, when they handed it to him, he just took off on a beeline sprint as fast as he could. And that actually promoted runners off him. And they were on the attack, and they just punched holes then in the Tyrone half back line. And for some reason, their half back line was wide open. They didn't seem to play a holding 6. So that was the main thing. I thought that the way they transitioned the ball from the goalie or the full back line all the way up was so fast, and it just created a lot of scores from easy scores.
That's interesting because Garrett McKinless, Ethan Doherty, Connor Doherty, they were punching holes, as you say, from deep. Yeah. Tyrone made a couple of calls late on. They didn't start Michael O'Neill, who started all of their big championship games. They also didn't start Dara Canavan.
Very strange.
You know, and they brought both of them on at half time. So I don't know whether that's Logan and Dewar saying we got this wrong, or we gotta make a change here, because they were down to 14 men as well. But
the game was done at half time.
By that stage, the game was done, and you could see Gallagher at half time roaring his boys. And I know he's so animated on the sideline. It was so impressive. Like, for Derry, James, just to stick on what they did, right? At the start of that game, I think I tweeted, I'm expecting this game to explode. And straight away, there was a couple of people onto me saying, are you sure? Because immediately Derry had 15 behind the ball. But that is probably what we were expecting from Derry, that they'd snare Tyrone in and breach from there. Going forward then, like, did they show enough to you that they could do damage to other teams in Ulster?
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't think they're going to concede that much. Like, I don't think that they're going to have to kick 21-22 every week. I think they'll only have to kick 15 probably. And if they can just get that goal, it'll give them a great chance in every match. Like, a goal would be such a big score for Derry if they can keep it tight at the back. But no, I see no problem with their attack. They were swinging them over from everywhere. In fairness, I think that there'll be a match for anyone. The one game I actually would love to see now is Derry and Kerry. I just think it's such a different. They're so different that it could be a test, a real test for both sides.
Are you putting them in? You're putting them in the mix, Jimmy?
No, but I mean, like, the chances are now that there is a good chance of them getting quite far. Like, even if they're knocked out now, they won't be in the provisional qualifier. Then will they? They'll be in the next round of the qualifier.
If they make the semi-finals, they'll
there's definitely another scalp in them. They'll
be a handful. They'll be a handful for anyone.
If they make the provincial final, they're into round 2 of the qualifiers, where they'll miss. There'll be some tasty matchups in round 1. If they lose in the semi-finals, they'll be playing on the weekend of June 4th and 5th. And you can have repeat pairings, so you can't see Tyrone Derry again.
The tough side for them, though, Tommy, we're saying, is they play Monaghan next. So, like, it's a tough championship. They're on the more difficult side of the draw. But you're right that the key thing, and we kind of, the week before, Galway kind of outwitted Mayo. The defensive structure, the Galway kind of did things that we didn't really associate with Galway in the past. They were really sound defensively, really good structure, but they probably sacrificed a little bit of their attack. Like, Shane Walsh kicked some phenomenal frees in the second half, but didn't really have a massive impact from play. Comer was brilliant, but probably more in a transition style than out and out attack. And that's trying to find that balance for teams is the most difficult thing for coaches to do. That if we set up really strong defensively, how do we make sure that our attack still functions at a level that's needed? And the key thing is getting bodies up the pitch. That if you're bringing people back, it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of organisation, and you need unbelievable engines from your forwards, and you need a really, really smart game plan. And that was the most impressive thing with Derry. That yes, they got bodies back and they completely shut down Tyrone. They have Derry. I think the major plus is they have out and out man markers as well in Rogers and Chrissy McKay. As well as having their defensive structure, they've got guys that will go toe to toe with anyone. But you're right, James. It was their attack as well. That they still, we got lots of bodies back. We were really structured, but we broke at serious pace. We were kicking some brilliant scores. Yeah. McGuigan was kind of maybe a little bit quiet in the first half with Hampsey, but kind of grew into the game. You could see nearly the confidence he took from the penalty. Doherty, Conor Glass, McKinless was phenomenal at centre back. And it was not far off being perfect in defence, but it was brilliant in attack as well. Yeah. And for a team to have that balance between the two is really, really impressive. And it's the confidence they'll get from that. Yeah. Yes, Tyrone were really, really poor. And we'll touch on that, I'm sure. But that puts Derry, like I say, we're talking about them now, as in these guys are serious contenders. It's a tough game for them against Monaghan the next day. Yeah. They'll need another big performance to get over that, because Monaghan are ticking along very nicely under Banty as well. But it was a top class performance, and all their big players really, really stood out, dominated Tyrone. all over the pitch.
Yeah, and I think, what you saw immediately in that game was Niall Loughlin was nailing his frees. McGuigan grows into the game.
Yeah.
Benny Herron kicked 2 from play. Conor Doherty from wing back kicked 2 from play. McKinless kicked a brilliant score from play. And that's the thing. The goal, James, you mentioned the goal for Derry. It's been a big issue for theirs. That's their first Ulster Championship win, and I think one in the last 10 years. So this could be a breakthrough moment for them. They've a lot of young players on that panel, on the bench. They lost Kieran McFall, one of their stars, a couple of weeks ago. There's been rumours that he may be on his way out to Boston. That hasn't happened yet, so I don't know whether that's the case. There was also rumours in the week that McKinless could be going. Like, if they had lost McKinless, before the game, there was rumours in the build-up that McKinless could be on his way out. I was speaking to a Derry journalist last night on one of our phone-in shows on Off the Ball, and he mentioned there was worries about McKinless. If they lost McKinless, they were in bother. That fella did everything, winning breaks, winning frees. It was the ultimate performance.
Yeah,
lockdowns, everything. Even he was even hateful enough to Kennedy in an Ulster Championship game. Brian Kennedy, an All-Ireland winner, a fella who's been a rock for Tyrone, decided to draw kicking him. Paddy, was it harsh?
I thought it was a little bit harsh. Like, you're giving a referee an excuse, so you like Fergal Logan and Brian Dewar would be in their rights to have a serious cut off Kennedy, but Kennedy is like, it's so innocuous. Like,
he kicks though. He kicks out.
Yeah, it's
no value for it. Like, it's just needless, isn't it?
It's so neat. That shows the frustration that's wrong. Conor McKenna as well. The exact same thing towards the end of the game. When you're frustrated, the momentum is going against you. You do something like that. That's how this happens. And it's what was an uphill task for them anyway was pretty much impossible after that, really. They'd be so disappointed. But it was more like David Beckham, Simeone, a little flick of the leg. Yeah. It was harsh, but I can see.
I don't know, lads. That's 8 Tyrone red cards in 9 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely
and none of it has been nothing overly dirty, like no bad tackles or anything like that. It's just been stupid.
It's frustration.
That was my point on it. If he'd punched him, he'd at least felt a bit better going off. Like, he just threw a tiny little kick of the leg.
But it's a red, like.
Yeah, so they should just appeal it anyway. Take it off.
He definitely can't get off now after all the press they're getting.
Or maybe that's the problem.
There's no, like, it was no coincidence it was McKinless stuck in there, because he's a fella you want on your side. He is stuck in absolutely everything. If there's ever a bit of trouble on the field, he's there. He's stuck in it. He's on the dirty ball. As you said, he's winning breaks, kickouts, kicking points. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He's a fella you want in your corner.
Yeah. And you have Conor Doherty in your defence for your fantasy Gaelic teams?
I didn't. No.
I
had a few Tyrone lads, unfortunately. Jesus.
I did as well, yeah. Oh, God. I ran out of transfers.
So before we come back to Tyrone, and I suppose, for want of a better phrase, it's been like watching a slow car crash this year. It's just been kind of breaking in front of us, their season in ways. And now Tyrone, I wouldn't put it past Tyrone to bounce back immediately and have a super run through the qualifiers. It could be the making of them, but it just felt like they combusted on the pitch. We'll come back to that. Monaghan's full forward line against Down. McCarron 7 points. Gary Mohan on his championship debut 3 points. Conor McManus 4 points. Are Derry going to be able to tie those boys up the way they tied up the Tyrone attack?
Might be fair off. You could see McCaig taking McManus, and it'll be a serious battle. He gives nothing easy. Now, McCurry did get a couple of beautiful scores yesterday.
He did.
He worked hard for him, though. Fairness, that score he got off the left was outrageous.
Yeah. So there's nothing easy. So you're looking at a matchup there straight away. But it's the structure that Derry will have. Like, it will be very difficult for that Monaghan forward line to get a lot of possessions. They're so well organised. Like I say, they have guys that will do man-to-man as well. I think it's going to be a great game. I think both teams, they're really in form. Monaghan have a brilliant record over the last number of years of just getting the absolute most out of their playing pool. McCarron is finally, all his injuries and stuff are behind him, and you can just see he's a confidence about him. And McManus is McManus. So I think it's going to be a brilliant game. And as good as Derry were, who's favourites for that game? Monaghan,
we don't have to make our calls
Likely.
until next week. Don't worry.
Yeah,
We,
it's
we,
a
we
couple of
let's
weeks away
let
yet,
it
but
build up. Yeah, but
I'll
that
be
game is in
looking
the
forward to
athletics
that.
grounds. In the
Yeah,
athletics
in
grounds, we
Armagh,
talk
yeah.
about provincial atmospheres and being able to generate a
Full
sound
house for that.
and like the sidelines are going to be tight. You're going to be able to hear Gallagher and Banty the whole way through the game. That is going to be
jeez.
cracker. So let's talk Tyrone just a little bit more. I want to linger on this a bit more. Have you ever been in a team where it felt like things weren't clicking and that frustration started coming out of lads where, it's uncharacteristic?
It is. I don't think I've ever been in that situation, but we definitely would have kind of warned against it. Like the red cards, they're not a great sign. Like especially the nature of the red cards. Like for the second one, when he threw the ball already on a yellow off his head, it was just like absolutely no need for it. And it was kind of a get me out of here kind of a cry, which is it's not a good sign, I don't think, for Tyrone. But I was listening to the interviews after the game, and Dooher was saying all the right things in fairness, but he was saying that this is probably the kick up the arse they need, and if they can somehow pull it together again, it would be an unbelievable achievement. So they have that, but it's so hard to see how they can raise a gallop against anyone when their mentality is so off.
Jimmy, they've had a few kick up the holes this year.
True.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like this. This is, you could see this coming throughout. Their inconsistency in the league. They had some really bad. Like I remember Dublin when Dublin were struggling, went up and blew them away. And you're going, what is going on with Tyrone? And it's the red cards they're getting. You're right. They're all innocuous things. It's just kind of ill discipline. It's not like you've gone in and it's just a freak. There's a row or brawl. It's red cards from just frustration. You can see it boiling over because the players themselves know there's more, that they're not playing well. Things aren't clicking. Teams are getting at them. This is nearly what was a big strength of Tyrone, that they used to do this to teams. They used to frustrate teams and take them out of their comfort zone. And it's happening to Tyrone now. And it's happening pretty much throughout the whole campaign. And yesterday was just, it came to a head. It was like a perfect storm. They were way off the pace. Their key players didn't play well and probably haven't been playing that well for them. And then the McKenna thing is just like, you're right. It just looked, it was nearly laughable. It was like something you'd see in a under-12s match.
Yeah.
And he knows he's so much better than that and just losing the head. And it's a tough atmosphere to be in. And they do need they need to swing something. They need something to come out and turn it around, or it could be a really, really bad campaign for them. They're up against it. They're hoping for a reasonable draw in a couple of weeks' time to get them back on the horse. But if they got a Mayo or someone like that, that could be it for them.
Yeah.
I'd love to be inside in their meetings or their next meeting. It has to be so honest, so
all truths, like
yeah. You have to start hurting fellas' feelings there fairly quickly. He has to start poking the bear. Like he has to get a reaction out of him. So it's going to be a horrible place to be, really, for the players, especially when they're underperforming so badly. I mean, he took off McShane at half time. Yeah. McGeary was taken off. The two boys were sent off. It's just they're key players for them. They're big, like match winners for Tyrone last year, and they just have not got to the levels anywhere near the levels that they're at last year. So strange that he didn't start Canavan. Like it must have been a physicality thing that he said, right, I'll bring this fella on when maybe the game's in the melting pot and it's opened up a bit and maybe there's a few tired legs. Because he's the type of player, Jim. He's the type of player that would suit playing against that type of defense. But there's lots of bodies back. You need that kind of elusive forward, kind of moving, poking holes. Like it was just a surprising one. McShane, we've touched on it, just has not been able to get near the levels that he's been at. And Derry just snuffed him out completely. Now, it's hard to play against. If you're on the full forward line and you're playing against a setup like that, it is difficult to get on the ball. It's difficult to create space. That's why the Canavan thing he's nearly the perfect forward you would want to play against that defence. So there might be a knock or something, like we don't know. But it was one of a number of issues that Tyrone had across the board. And you're right. Well, where did they go this week?
they'll know themselves. The players will know themselves that was not an acceptable performance. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it matters what they do training wise. It just has to come out. It has to come out verbally what's gone wrong in that group. Because
lads, is it as simple as this? 13 of the players started against Donegal last year in the Ulster semi-final. Paddy, you'll remember talking about the impact Tyrone got from the bench that day.
Yeah.
The ferocious impact that Tiernan McCann brought when he came on.
Yeah.
Conor McKenna come on with a point to prove. Colin McShane come on from the point to prove. Those three boys added 5 points between them off the bench last year. Michael Murphy had been sent off, so the roles have been possibly reversed a little bit.
Like, Tyrone are renowned for doing this to other teams.
Yeah.
And it's happening to them now.
So I wonder, like, Matty Donnelly was obviously missing through injury. Peter Hart came back.
Looked a bit
Have we already seen the impact of the 7 departures from the panel? Have we already seen the knock-on impact that's had? We saw it with Dublin last year when so many players leave a panel at the same time. It was remarkable how Mayo could turn it around in 2020 when they had such a huge amount of departures. Mass exodus. So, like, it doesn't just catch a team. Like, when you just that little bit of drop in A versus B games, or, you know, not looking over your shoulder for fellas on the bench coming off, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But no. Say, how many have they lost? They've lost 8, isn't it?
7, I think.
7. So, say there's 32 in training. There's not 39 intercounty players in a county. So you might have 25 of the standard. So,
especially physicality wise, like, you're not going to have people who have that block of work done.
Exactly. So the quality in training must have dropped. But just on the forward line that we were talking about there for Canavan, like, one thing that struck me is sometimes when you're playing against that mass defense or a very good defense, you don't touch the ball very often. And then when you do, it's like you're not as, you feel like you're not as sharp. You know, it's a very tough place to be sometimes. You have to be so strong mentally to be able to be out of the game and still impact it when you only have those few possessions. And that'd be interesting to see the Monaghan boys. Like, they're flying, they're touching the ball 20 times for full forward line at the moment. That
was a poor game though against. I know Down got the 2 goals to keep it alive, but that was poor.
They were out again, were they? They were spotted out on the beer, were they?
very bold, Paddy.
They were. They're coming to Castlebar on the 2nd as well in the sesh.
They're more than welcome
for a week, I think.
They're more than welcome. Yeah, Down football just seems Down football, isn't it? Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how McCarron gets on. Like, because he was well able to throw over a point after going quiet for 10 or 12 minutes. Same with McManus. They might be the types of players that could cause Derry maybe some problems, as you said.
Like McManus, we've touched on it last year after their great win against Armagh, the Ulster semi-final. McManus has been dealing with these type of defences for the best part of a decade, and he's always pulled it out of the bag. He's the type of guy, he's a shooter. Like Chris McCaig will be all over him. But
so on McKinless.
Yeah.
Who takes Gary Mohan? Because he throws the spanner in the works. The big
Rogers,
man with the mullet.
Rogers, I suppose.
And who takes McCarron? You don't think either of them are taking McCarron, so you're leaving Jack McCarron has been shooting the lights out. Who's the other Derry cornerback? McCluskey. Yeah. So, yeah.
You see, they have protection back there. They have protection back there.
Yeah, they do.
It'll be a good game, but I wouldn't be.
Yeah, can't wait for it.
Monaghan will be delighted now going in.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be like exactly what we're doing here. We're talking up Derry.
They're licking their lips.
It was a statement performance.
Yeah.
But that Monaghan team is experienced. They've been around the block. Banty's been around. Banty and Rory on the sideline will be bring your earmuffs for that one.
Yeah.
Two lads will be going at it. Well, it'll be a class game, and 2 of the form teams in the country at the minute, you'll have to say something. But Tyrone, they need something. It's their 4th or 5th kick in the hole they've got this year. That they need to pull something out of the bag.
They need to draw Armagh in the qualifiers. That's what they need, and that might waken them up. We'll see.
Yeah.
We might move on from Ulster, lads, because we'll talk a wee bit about Donegal and Cavan a little later when we're doing our predictions. Like last week, we lamented the quality of shooting that was on show across the board. This week, you know, McCarron put on an exhibition. We talked about the Monaghan full forward line there. They pulled out, was it 13, 14 points from between the 3 of them. All 6 of Kildare's forwards scored.
Yeah.
Cribben was the last one to add a point. Highland kicked 4, Flynn kicked 3, McCormack kicked 4, Cribben kicked 3. Kevin Feely added a goal from a penalty, I think, as well. So, you know, Kildare took up a big score. Dara Curran got 1-3 off the bench. Paddy Woodgate got 2 points off the bench. So Kildare were motoring nicely against a loud team who, like we knew that there was limitations there, that they've come from Division 3 and that they're on the rise. But, we fully all expected last week the Kildare would put on a performance. But
were you back loud to win the Leinster?
No, I was.
You did it on Twitter.
No, you did.
I just wanted to get a dig in about 2010. That was it. I said they're in the best place in 2010. But Kildare shot the lights out, and Roscommon put up 23 points, albeit Sligo lost their cornerback to a red card, I think, 3 minutes.
Rossies can shoot. We know that.
Yeah.
Rossies have shooters, like so.
Yeah.
But no, I thought on the Kildare piece, I expected them to beat Louth, but I didn't expect it to be as straightforward as that. Like, to be fair, the job Mickey Hart has done in Louth over the last 2 years has been phenomenal. They're into Division 2 next. They're in the same division now for next season. But for Kildare to just steamroll them straight out of the blocks, serious shooting, 222. They play Westmeath now in a couple of weeks' time. They were probably, remember we were at that game last year, the semi-final. Westmeath were kicking themselves, a couple of massive goal chances, and they took the wrong options, and Kildare managed to scrape through. But I would expect Kildare to come through that pretty convincingly based on what we've seen, particularly over the weekend. I thought that was a really impressive performance across the board from Kildare. So they're motoring along very, very nicely.
Kildare are better now, aren't they, than last year? Do you know?
Yeah.
They found a groove up front. They have a strong full forward line. They'll kick with a lot of points.
They
will kick a lot of scores.
They seem to play within themselves in that Leinster final against Dublin. Paddy, there seemed to be a little bit of fear there. Maybe
game. Yeah.
It was poor. There was a bit of fear. They played quite defensively. It was poor. Daniel Flynn pulled out a moment or two of magic, but he was quiet that day. I don't think he was fully fit. They are coming into this Leinster semi-final against Westmeath in a good place.
But it comes down to, we were there in Newbridge a couple of months ago. That's why that win, okay, on the face it was a league win in early February, but the mentality of actually beating Dublin. You got the sense last year in that Leinster final that it was like they were happy to not get a hype. Really. That's what it looked like. It was a terrible game. We were at it. It didn't do any favours for Dublin, obviously, later on when they went on and lost to Mayo in the semi-final. But for Kildare, they've gone up a level, I feel. That's playing in Division 1 has brought them along. The coaching team they brought in, there's an energy and atmosphere around. And that's why that win over Dublin, it's given them nearly a confidence boost going into it. Their win against Louth the other night, like I said, we expect them to win, but it's the manner in which they did it. They'll be going in full of confidence against Westmeath. And they are talking about a Leinster championship. That's their target now. Whereas before, the last number of years, we said it's been Dublin steamrolling everyone. Kildare have the belief now that they're going to be right in the mix. So it'll be interesting. I expect them to come through against Westmeath, and I expect Dublin to come through against Meath. So I think that would be a brilliant final if we got there, Dublin and Kildare. But it's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks.
To look at the dubs, the team was announced on Friday, Saturday, and I put it out there that's 13 of a Dublin starting 15. A couple people came back and said, no, it's only 10. We're missing a couple of others, and they wouldn't start Bugler and they wouldn't start this fella. Now, James McCarthy didn't start. Johnny Cooper started in place for him. Dublin subs off the bench: Aaron Byrne, James McCarthy, Sean McMahon, Lorcan O'Dell, Niall Scully. Sounds a bit more like it from the Dubs perspective. Paddy Small was back on the bench this week as well. Ryan Buskell is on the bench. Ross McGarry's on the bench. Cian Murphy and Emmett O'Keneela alongside Michael Shield. Evan Cumberland is still out with an injury, but we saw the return of the king. Con O'Callaghan was back in the square. He scored 1-6. He probably could have had 3-5. James, before I come to Paddy on it, it didn't look like he'd been away.
No, I'm going to have to eat my words there, because remember I said that it takes a couple of games to get sharp.
He did say that. He
looked so sharp. Do you know what? When the moment I was like, no, he's fine, was when he had the goal chance to hit the crossbar. But do you remember that cut? He just planted on the right foot and took your man on the inside for the goal chance. Like most forwards there would have maybe chipped it over, maybe not had enough power to do that sidestep. They might have taken the contact from the defender, but he just planted and drove across the defender to create about 10 yards of space out of nothing, out of one step. It was just so creative. It was just class. And the way he goes for the goal, goes for the jugular all the time.
Always.
He's just a joy. He is a joy to watch. And it gave them a focal point. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't read into that game for anything. Like, it was Division 1 against Division 4. I've never seen such a difference. But like, the best thing about it was to get Con back, get minutes into him. I'm surprised they left him on for 70. I was thinking after 50 they'd whip him and wrap him in cotton wool, but it was good to get 70 into
He
him.
must have been tipping away for the last couple of weeks. Paddy, is he just a freak? Like, physically, like, how could he be looking that well?
He's an animal.
Moving that well.
He's an absolute beast. Like, he's a brilliant player, but his mentality and his physique as well elevate him to, like, I think he's up there with Clifford for me as one of the best forwards in the country. He's developed himself physically over the last 4 or 5 years. Like, he came in as a kid. Jim brought him in, and you could see there's phenomenal talent there, but he's built himself up where he can take on anyone, and his mentality as well. You're right. Like, Jimmy, you'd love him because he would have a allergic reaction to fisting the ball over the bar. Like, he is going for goal, head down, straight at the black spot. And he has the technical ability to do it and the physique to allow him to do it as well. And he's massive. He is just a massive, massive player for Dublin. Dublin supporters were crying out for him to come back and hoping that they might see him towards the end of the National League. They took their time with him. He looks in perfect condition. And when he's playing like that, and Fenton, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, Dublin need Fenton back playing, being the Brian Fenton we know. He needs to bring that form into the championship. And if those two guys alone are playing at their peak, that puts Dublin right into the mix. Yes, it's Wexford, total mismatch, but there were certain things that Dublin would have wanted to get from that game. And Fento back kicking scores, right foot, left foot, which he just wasn't doing in the National League. That was a massive plus. And then obviously Conor O'Callaghan back to come through, and like he's never been away.
Can I ask you about Con for a second? We stick on that because you're right about the opposition and everyone knew going into it. Like, Wexford had been in this position before against Dublin, and they made a great crack of it in the first half. And for about 15 minutes, they kept the scoreline very tight and very low, but they just couldn't get scores on the board themselves. For Conor O'Callaghan, did someone ever pull him aside and say, just go for goal? Like, did that conversation ever happen? Because, like, in 17, it obviously sticks out. First minute against Mayo.
Yeah.
First minute or 5 minutes in against Tyrone, he gets it and he goes for goal. Like, they weren't goal chances. Like, he made those goal chances. He got the ball 40 yards out. Is it an inability to be able to kick points from that far out that you just can't do it?
Or did
someone tell him, like, just go for it?
No, it's funny because he plays hurling the same way as well. Like, he'll be playing him full forward for Coola with an All-Ireland club titles. It's the gets the ball and gets the sliotar and just takes the man on. It's like every forward would like to do that. Like, if you're a coach, you want your forwards to be direct, to take their men on, but they mightn't have the pace, they mightn't have the physique to allow them to do it. He has all of that as well. He is an animal. He is so strong, so strong, so powerful. And like, he has that allows him to have that mentality, really. And he's for me, he's the perfect forward. And if he's held up and if he has to take his point, he's well able to do that as well. But it's just his mentality. He's always had it. He is go for the juggler. And what he does, he frees up Costello and Dean Rock and guys around because he's a focal point, as Jimmy was saying there. The opposition need to have a plan for how to deal with Conor O'Callaghan. And that immediately leaves a little bit more space for other forwards to shine as well. And it's what Dublin needed. Through the National League, we said it. We watched a lot of their games. It was ponderous in attack. It was slow transitions. And I was like, that is not Dublin. That's not Dublin at their best. With Con there, he allows them to be really direct. And exactly what you said, James, about the Derry defenders coming out at pace. That nearly gets it forces your teammates to get up to that pace. It's like, geez, if McKinless is sprinting out the pitch or Brendan Rodgers is sprinting out the pitch, the wing backs then go, I need to get off his shoulder. It creates a pace to the play. And Con brings that to the Dublin attack. He gets the ball and he's direct. The other Dublin forwards are like, I need to get off his shoulder here. This guy, we need to be, something's happening here. It's like a spark. And it's a key thing. Dublin having him back is transformative to where they're going to go this season. So fingers crossed, injuries are clear. Paddy Small, I think, is another important guy to have back. James McCarthy, obviously, we've seen him towards the end of the National League. Getting these guys back up to speed. Dublin probably might have 18 or 19 players that they can really rely on. They need to keep those guys injury-free. It's not like years gone by where 2 or 3 lads are injured. It doesn't matter. Just bring in the next lot. Dublin's depth is well covered, that it's probably not as strong as it had been in the past. But if they've their 17 or 18 guys fit and ready to rock, they are right in the mix.
Last week, you spoke about, and rightfully so, the two of you spoke about at times no one went to mind your body, and you might say in some of the gym sessions to Cullen that, I'll leave this one out. Was Con just hungry for weights? Because there was a transformation at one stage. I think it's 18. He shaves the head. The biceps are bigger. But it's clearly just not the beach weights he's doing. Like his whole physique. He became a man, I think, in 18 or 19, where he just kind of exploded in terms of physicality. That can be a tough balance to get. James, you spoke before about doing a savage amount of work on your shoulders. You needed to do it. I don't know if you felt then that curtail you in any way when you put on a bit of muscle and a bit of size up top?
No, but I suppose like Khan is probably, he was coming at the weights from probably a good base level without an injury. So he probably had a look at and said, how can I improve myself here? He wasn't coming at it from an injury that he had to get better. He was coming at it from already probably being a top forward. And he goes, how do I take myself to a different level here? And that was his route. And it was the Limerick manager actually was talking about how the Limerick boys have developed and just
really, I've seen it,
yeah, it just took them a couple of years. They said, if we're going to get to the next level, we have to go at it physically in the gym. And it's brought them on, and Khan has transformed himself. But the way that we said that he goes for goals, that's so hard to defend because it changes the way you actually have to defend. Because say if the ball is kicked into him, and you know that this fella is a point merchant, he's going to kick a point, then you can actually contest the ball more. Because even if he catches it and you're very close to him, you know that he's not going to go for the goal. He's going to take the point, worst case scenario. But if you're marking a fellow who's going to go for the goal, you have to kind of leave him win it and give yourself a yard back. So you kind of have a head start if he does take you on. You know, so it's a psychological thing for a defender that if you know that my man is going to go for goal, I have to defend slightly differently here.
Yeah. It's very true. It's interesting. And you're right, Paddy. I think every manager would love their forwards to be able to do it the way that Con does it, you know.
It'd be great, but not every team has
a Con O'Callaghan.
Has a Con O'Callaghan.
Yeah, so it's
the positive out of everything from the weekend. That's like I say that it was a mismatch of a game, but a couple of things Dublin would have liked to have got out of it. They got out of it, so they move on and face Meath in 2 weeks' time. It's a massive step up from what we've seen in Wexford Park, but it was a positive weekend for Dublin after kind of a challenging end to the National League, obviously.
We mentioned the penalty shootout in Ennis a little earlier. I did want to ask you that if pick a team, whatever year it is, in All-Ireland final, if it went to a penalty shootout, who are the 5 players you'd pick or you'd like to be there? Would you put your hand up yourself? All-Ireland final against Mayo, Paddy, 2017, 2016, goes to a penalty shootout.
Oh, jeez.
Who would you like to see taking penalties?
From our Dublin team?
Yeah. 2017, the game
Connolly,
that you won by a point.
Connolly, Mannion, Dean Rock, Costello, and Cluxton. That'd be my 5, I'd say.
I was wondering, would you pick Cluxton?
Yeah.
Why?
Cool head, like
and he's fresh.
What?
The goalie's fresh.
Yeah.
That actually does make a difference.
I wouldn't have fancied one myself. You know my penalty record.
What is it?
0 from 1.
Have you not seen the David Clark one in the league?
Not allowed to take them again.
3 points
would have ran on and dragged me off the pitch. But no, I'd be happy enough with those lads now.
And do you think each of those would have put their hands up right away and said, I'm taking it?
Yeah. Mannion scored one in the 18 final against Tyrone.
Savage one, against
top
Tyrone.
Corner. Connolly obviously scored in 16
against Mayo,
David Clark in the corner, brilliant penalty. Clucko's just nailed, obviously, the famous free in 2011. He dealt that. And Dino and Costello are free takers. So
The only Kerry man I've seen scoring a penalty in a shootout that matters in championship was Kieran Donaghy for Stacks, I think 2 years ago.
Good
I was
penalty.
on TV. He took it very well, and he got
to be fair.
Yeah, so
and he put himself down for number 5, like
he did.
John Perry job
away in celebration.
James, to pick a team, pick a year, maybe 14, and tell me who's your 5 penalty takers.
Well, it's interesting you said about putting the hand up.
And what position you're putting yourself in?
5th for the glory, obviously. No, I suppose.
Go on, put your hand up.
Yeah.
If you don't want it, like, then it's not a nice situation to be in. Like, you have to just put the hand up and really want to take it, because I can't imagine. I've never been in a shootout, but like, even that, when it all is going to rely on that and you have a doubt in your head, you're missing. Like, you will miss. So I do think it has to be rehearsed, and it has to be someone who wants to put the hand up. Like, I wouldn't agree with the manager going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that could put the fear of God into some fella and he'll miss it. But if I was to say from the Kerry team, say 19, if 19 went to penalties.
Yeah.
Which it could have, if the rules are different. I'd have gone Shawnee Shea, David Clifford,
Cliff, yeah.
Gainey.
Gainey's missed one already, though.
He's missed one, yeah. So you'd back him to go the same side again. I'd go goalie as well. I'd go Shane Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's your fifth? You'd bring yourself on for the 5th one.
Yeah, I'd sub on there.
Well, James is on in 64 minutes, so he probably only got about 25 minutes anyway.
Yeah, so I'd step up, all right. Yeah.
But are you putting yourself 5th, or are you putting Ryan up against Cluxton at 5th?
Is Cluxton shooting 5th? I'd put him. No, I'd put your strongest at the start. So whoever is most confident, I go, and then it might not even go to 5. Limerick.
Lads, we need it. There'll be a pedal shootout in one of the big games this year.
Surely goes. They hardly put it into the hill. It's hardly into the hill, like. That's a complete disadvantage for the opposition.
It's a toss.
It's a toss.
I don't think if you're worried about that type of stuff, you're gonna miss.
Yeah.
What end you're shooting in. It's more who are your best ball strikers, who'll deal with the pressure of it, and who's prepared for it. Like, see, I got the sense, we don't know, that Limerick looked like they had prepared for that shootout, and Clare looked like they didn't.
Clare, OD's penalty, it was like he was taking the point.
Yeah, it was like that's
in fairness.
So that's the difference. That teams are going to have to start practicing now, because that could be like, I think we'll see more of them. I think we'll see another couple in this summer. Like, you're looking at how tight the games are going to be, and even over the next couple of weeks, Monaghan, Derry, for example. I'm excited to see it. I want to see it in a big game, and a big game in Croker. I think it'd be class.
I couldn't shake the feeling.
The keeper as well.
It felt weird, lads, being in the stadium. I couldn't shake it. It felt bizarre. It was like, how is it being decided by penalties? This is so strange. I think I like when soccer games.
It's better than replays, lads. Get rid of replays. Yeah.
But what about a shootout in the D? Is that not a bit more natural? I don't think 45s work. You know, you pick 3 appointed players. They have to take shots from the D.
So it's the same thing. Like,
what about if
remember the old MLS?
Dribble up from halfway line,
dribble up and score a goal. Go around the keeper.
Bring that in.
It'd be good to do something.
What about next score wins?
Football-y.
What about next score wins?
It's a soccer thing, isn't it? The penalties.
Next score wins.
So it's
lads. Panos is top class. We all loved him.
Yeah.
Horrendous if you're taking them, but like, if you're watching it, all the big soccer tournaments in the summer, it's class. Penos are drama. Dublin Mayo All Ireland final. Imagine the buzz for that. Like,
it would be savage, right?
James, you know when you said there you have to want it? Did you ever have a situation? You obviously took quite a few penalties in your career where you didn't fancy it on a particular day for a particular reason.
No, I think I was always prepared to take it. Okay, you know? And sometimes there's no one else. Do you know? there's never a queue to take the penalties. Do you know? So there might only be 1 or 2 fellas who can take them or who want to take them.
Do you ever have an argument like in soccer with a fella about a penalty? No.
A DeCanio and Lampard situation. No, I'd say nearly giving the ball to each other. No, you take it. No, you take it. But no, it's never come to that. No.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an
You
eye on the
take
penalty shootouts.
You take him.
I haven't taken a penalty since under 14s.
Did you miss it?
Score it.
I scored in an under 14 final in Navan, yeah.
Legend.
Into the corner. Haven't been allowed to take one since. That was when I had my boxers were longer than my shorts back then.
Nice.
Yeah. There was no skins.
Down the middle is a sure thing in the penalty shootout.
Get out of it. GA goalkeepers won't move. Most of them don't.
The Limerick keeper.
If you look at the top,
Donald Sullivan was standing waiting for one down the middle. Like.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah, and he pinged it in the top corner. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
he got caught out.
But if you know the goalie, like most of the goalies are diving.
Okay.
So down the middle, I think is
very ballsy though. Yeah. I don't think. I think we'll see shootouts. I don't think we'll see a Penenka.
Oh, not a Penenka.
I think it'll be a few years before we see one of them in the GA.
Perlo did it
before you walk.
Perlo did it in the Euros against England, didn't he? He did a Penenka in the shootout. Yeah, exactly.
No, I think someone will do it.
No chance.
It won't be
again. I'd like to see it, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I think.
Can you imagine going into work on Monday after missing a Penenka and not on a final?
They wouldn't be going into work, Jimmy. They'd be at Dublin Airport, flying out Vegas.
Yeah. But listen, that was an unbelievable game in Ennis. The pity about it was there was only 2,980 people at that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't available online, couldn't stream it. And I was just thinking, I had 20, 30 tweets of people saying live stream the penalties. And I didn't want to get my Croker Park press pass revoked, so I couldn't do it. I wasn't allowed to. And I just think it's such a shame that though that penalty shootout wasn't up on Twitter or YouTube or TikTok later that night, you can reach millions of people with a game between Clare and Limerick where you're only getting, and like the conversation about 2,900 people being there and Ennis, there's plenty of people around Ennis or wherever around Clare that day. It's tough because, football and hurling is stronger in different counties than it is in other counties. So, there was a huge crowd in Semple, I think, for Clare and Cork the next day for the hurling. But I think we're missing a trick. And the next GA media rights deal, if we could look at what we learned from COVID and the games that were streamed and that were available to watch, it could just give us so much more. Just put the games out there.
Like the Dublin game was on telly, on Sky. And
waste of time.
The man in the street knew what was going to happen in that game. But, okay, Dublin, Sky feel they might get more viewership there. But Limerick-Clare was a brilliant game. Unbelievable game. Both teams had it won, had it lost.
Yeah.
Goes to penalties. Like, what's a better spectacle to watch? Without a doubt, that's the game. So, look, it's kind of like it's been that way for the last number of years. These early rounds of the championship, you do question why some of these games are being shown and other ones not. So
maybe just show more.
Yeah, I agree. There's probably not enough games on. Even you look this weekend, the games. Okay, we've got Kerry-Cork on Saturday night, but there's not really any other big standout games. I know Donegal-Cavan.
Well, Donegal-Cavan will be good. I'll put it on record now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look at maybe there's some sort of GA TV, or if you just look at the way the Premier League do it and NFL, the way they market their own stuff.
Yeah.
I just think that the GA could do so much more to make heroes out of fellas. That's the way I'll put it. Make heroes out of Division 3 and 4 and Division 2 and Division 1 footballers who aren't on telly every week. Like we saw Jack McCarron score over his shoulder, and I think McGuigan and McCurry did something similar the next day. And when you see that, all you want to do is go out and practice it. When you see Conor O'Callaghan taking on his man and you put those clips up, that's what people want to do in training and replicate it later in the week. So I just think that a lot more could be done from it. That Clare Limerick game, it was class to be at. Conor Lane found a minute. There was 4 minutes of injury time. Jamie Malone put Clare in front in the 74th minute on the buzzer. I have no idea where he found the next 65.
But it's at least, isn't it? Isn't that the wording?
But there was no.
Say 4 minutes. It's at least 4 minutes.
No one lying down. I just
think are Clare frustrated with it? Was Colin Collins kind of challenging that? Or
no, I didn't hear anyone talking about it and giving out about the referee after the game. But
and like it was a free at the end as well. To be fair to Conor Lane, it was. It was an unlucky tackle. But Clare will be kicking themselves as well. Like
they kicked a lot of whites
as well for the goal. He's in, and it's like he kind of. One of the Limerick defenders just gets a hand on him and nearly puts him off.
I think his ankle got clipped slightly, very slightly.
Tiny little bit of contact, but like that, what a massive chance to kind of put the game out of reach. And we spoke about Clare. Division 2, they were the highest ranked team in Munster outside of Kerry. and they haven't been able to get a big championship win. Like Colin Collins has done a phenomenal job with Clare to have them kind of pushing for promotion, really, even from Division 2. But we said it, like Tipperary got their breakthrough in 2020, winning the Munster Championship. Clare,
I think 2020 is the one they're looking at, I'd say, because every other year they ended up drawing Kerry.
Yeah,
you know,
but that's
Kerry
why
had a pretty decent record against them.
This year, the Limerick at home, probably tip in a semi-final and get to a Munster final against Kerry, and they just come up short. And brilliant from Billy Lee and Limerick, what they've done so far this year to get promoted to Division 2, win that championship game. Fair play to them, but Clare will be kicking themselves at losing that game.
Right. Last week, we all called Roscommon. We all called Westmeath. We all called Dublin. We all called Meath. We all called Clare. We all called Tip, who won.
Yeah.
And the 2v back Tyrone. And at the very last second, the very last second, I said, I'm going for Derry. And then on Friday morning's OTB AM on our quick picks, I backed it up and I explained why I thought Derry were going to do it. I honestly thought it was going to be a lot
closer.
closer.
On your high horse there, like this is about the first predictions you got right all year, like.
Yeah, well, I'm just putting it out there.
I said Derry in the first podcast of the season.
Was that when you called Tyrone relegation?
I don't recall that.
Like. Yeah, I said Derry are a team to watch, and I said Tyrone could be in a bit of bother.
You did say
Root
that.
out that clip, Tommy.
I will. I'll get it. I'll dig it out. This weekend, we have got 2 semi-finals on Sunday. We've Donegal-Cavan and Clonus, 4:00. That's going to be on the TV. And Galway-Leitrim in Pearse Stadium in Salthill in the Connacht semi-final. 3:30, not televised. On Saturday evening on Sky, we have Cork versus Kerry in Park Gearin. James, you didn't get the game where you wanted to play it. You're going to have to go down to Cork.
Yeah, fair enough.
Are you feeling in Kerry? It's been very quiet since the league final win.
Yeah.
It's been very quiet about this game.
There's no big excitement about the game, to be honest. Which is disappointing because I suppose people are just so fearful that it could be a drubbing. And like the fact it's on in Park Gearin honestly will balance it up a bit because that is a tough place to go.
How much of a factor? How many points are you giving Cork a head start for having that game in Park Gearin?
Ian Maguire is out as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got.
Yeah.
They've lost Ian Maguire. Like Keith Ricken has stepped back from his role in the last couple of weeks and John Cleary's taken over them. So, you know, due to illness. So they've had, you know, a couple of issues in the last couple of weeks. Ian Maguire is out too. He's a massive loss.
He is.
The only thing you'd say in their favor, because of what's the kind of everything that's gone on around the game, around the venue, it's been spoken about a lot. Obviously, Keith Rickett having to step away, unfortunately. Losing Maguire's their captain, I think, isn't he? Just a massive leader for them as well. You would have to expect that Cork will come out of the blocks all guns blazing. If they have anything about them that
they have to fight for their lives,
they're going to come out and just everyone's writing them off. We're writing them off here. We've seen the article last week in the Times.
Darrow Shea.
So I had a chuckle reading it now, I have to say. But if you're Cork, if you're in that position in that team, you're ready to go to war. That's the only positive I can see for them. Like, okay, yes, Sherlock came in towards the end of the league and was kicking some brilliant scores and giving that support to Brian Hurley, but they're coming up against a much, much improved Kerry defensive system. And that was the real standout for Kerry winning the National League. It was how solid they were defensively. So you're looking at those boys are probably going to be targeted and tied up. I cannot make a case for anything other than a Kerry comfortable victory. And my predictions have been catastrophic so far here today. But I just think Kerry are going to have way, way too much firepower for Cork.
Yeah. Like if going back over the years, Cork always had a couple of shooters that if they were hot, they could kick all day. And if they were playing in this game in Park Gearin, like it's a kicker's field. Like the Cork forwards love Park Gearin, honestly. Really? When they get it going there, everything sails over. And it's a lonely place to be at times if it's going against you. But I don't think they have that quality up front at the moment. So yeah, I'm seeing a comfortable Kerry win. I'd say obviously, it won't be 20 points, but it could easily be.
Wait this.
No,
Wait this out.
it'll be.
You're talking to Darragh O'Shea, right?
10-point drubbing.
10-point drubbing. Like,
I think it'll be more than that.
But like,
You know the value I put in a home venue.
I know. So how many points are you giving Cork for that Parky Rin fact? We're expecting Hurley and Sherlock to be starting in the full forward line.
Yeah.
Blake Murphy's been playing quite well for them.
Like Parky Rin is actually a very big field, but it plays small.
Okay.
It plays tight.
Explain that. What do you mean?
Croke Park is a big field, but it plays massive. Parky Rin, I think, is actually a little bit bigger, but because the way the stand is and the way the setup is, it just plays smaller.
Okay.
So certain fields are like that. In Kerry down here, you've Fitzgerald Stadium and you have Stack Park in Tralee. Stack Park has bigger dimensions, but it plays a lot narrower because of the terrace and the stand, just the way the setup is. Parnell Park's the same. I'd say Parnell Park plays quite small, Paddy, does it?
Yeah.
I've actually never played in Parnell Park.
Have you not?
Yeah. It's a pity. Dublin's home game, the home venue, very rarely used.
You never get home games. So,
But I think that game will suit Kerry's defensive setup. The other way it plays quite narrow. I think the Tig Morley will do a lot of sweeping up there. They'll keep Cork quiet up front and they'll be able to break.
Okay.
I think Kerry have a couple of knocks and niggles. I'm not sure.
Yeah, any inside info for us? For the Football Pod listeners?
Jimmy.
I think no, I don't actually. I don't. I know that they played an AVB game, all right, and they were down a good few bodies, but it could have just been minding. But like you'd still expect if Kerry didn't play their strongest 15, that they'd still have enough.
And like you spoke about there being a fear in the build up to this game, a fear that it'd be a drubbing. Like you've been on the end of a tanking from a Cork under 21 team. You're there in 2020 when you get caught in the lights of Páirc Uí Chaoimh as that ball drops into Mark Keane's hands and he sticks into the back of the net.
Yeah.
Like, is there no worries of that?
I mean, there is inside in the dressing room,
no.
But okay. not around the county. Like no one can see.
And is it difficult in the dressing room, like Paddy, when you're going into a game like that, against say Meath over the years, pick a county that traditionally would have put it up to you, but like in your time didn't.
That's where you're relying on the squad. That if you're playing, and this is Kerry have this advantage that if your Jack O'Connor names you to start in the first 15, you've got to go out and perform, because if you don't, someone else is going to take your spot.
Yes.
So that was the massive advantage we had with Dublin, that no matter what in these games, like an example, Wexford at the weekend, you knew I need to play well here, even though we expect to win this game, and we generally did quite easily, but you had to perform and do the right things, otherwise someone else was taking their spot. And that's the beauty of what Kerry have. And Jack O'Connor is unbelievably experienced, that whoever he names in that 15 going out there, they'll still have to play. Because they'll know if we don't, someone else is taking our spot. That's the beauty of the depth that Kerry now have in their squad. As much as I expect Cork to come out of the blocks, I think Kerry will play. I'm expecting a big performance from Kerry as well. I think they'll be itching to get this going. They've had a nice little break since the National League. They are ready to rock for this championship. I expect them to carry on that defensive solidity that they've had throughout the spring. And they're expecting Clifford and O'Shea to just come in with a bit of magic down here as well. Like, as much as the Cork forwards might like shooting, they're pretty sure the Kerry lads are going to enjoy it as well. So you're hoping for, just because of the tradition of the fixture, that you get a big game, but I think it's going to be a straightforward win for Kerry.
Okay, so we're going Kerry.
Kerry. What do you think Kerry will win by, if you're saying Kerry will win?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
We're talking to Paddy.
Are you talking
you're talking to me?
Yeah, I think 15 points for the Kingdom.
Yeah, and like last year, they did quite well in the first half. They got an early goal. They kept Clifford scoreless from playing. It still ended up being a big scoreline. I do think it's going to be a big beating, unfortunately.
Apologies, we're not doing a road show on Cork, lads, are we?
No, but yeah, I just think it's a tough time in Cork football.
Lost all our Cork listeners there.
Yeah, but look at like it's just the reality of where they're at the minute. So they're missing Powder, they're missing Powder, they're missing Meehan. It is a pity. Like it is a pity. Yeah. They're missing Maguire, and yeah, the 20s. You know, a couple of them are coming through the All Ireland winners from a couple of years ago, but you know, it takes a little while to get them all in into the mix. Right, Kerry. Donegal are looking to make their 10th Ulster final in 12 years.
Yeah,
that is remarkable consistency.
That is good.
That is good going. The last time Donegal and Cavan met, it was a dirty, dark night in November 2020. In the 69th minute, Garrod McKiernan wins a free. Was it a mark or a free? I don't know what it was, but he just belts the ball in. Patton rushes off his line, punches it into Conor Madden's chest, and it's in the back of the net. And Cavan were crowned Ulster champions. Victory. Yeah. What do you expect happen this weekend?
I am excited to get another look at Donegal. Because I thought their performance against Armagh was one of the most complete performances we've seen from them in the championship in a number of years. I think Armagh kind of let them dominate that game the way they set up. I expect Cavan to have a plan for guys like Ryan McHugh, for Murphy and these guys. But I think I'm expecting Donegal to win this one. To be honest, I thought whoever came out of that game would win the Ulster Championship, and Donegal came out of it with convincing winners. No injuries to speak of. They've got their main guys back on the pitch. I think they'll have too much for Cavan. I watched Cavan against Antrim. They were far, far better than Antrim, but they weren't really clinical, particularly in the first half. They will need to be... I don't think they'll get a lot of possession in this game, but they will need to make every bit of it count. But I'm looking at a Donegal win here. Comfortable enough, I would say, as well.
Where are you sitting here, James?
And the same. I was very impressed with Donegal, in fairness, against Armagh. And it will be exciting to see if they can learn from that, pick a few points to improve on, and really have another top performance. I think that, say, Derry have kind of an opportunity to get ahead of themselves after this Tyrone game. Do you know, like they're going to be, we're talking about them being a great team. They're probably getting loads of attention at home, and like that inexperience doesn't apply to Donegal. I said, like, they've come up and had massive Ulster Championship wins so regularly that Armagh game would just be parked and it's on to the next one, which is a great advantage to have. You know, that you've been there, you've seen it, you've done it before, and you can just park a big championship game and go on to the next one. I think they'll win comfortably as well. I can't see Cavan getting to the level of Division 1 team straight from 4.
Okay. So we're thinking the two surprises of 2020, two of the big surprises, Cork beating Kerry and Cavan beating Donegal, that history can't repeat itself 2 years later.
I'd be surprised.
Like Donegal had a right few injuries going into that game in 2020. I think Langan started, but he wasn't 100%. Kieran Thompson was missing. I personally think
they took it for granted.
Yeah, they took the eye off the ball there.
Yeah, they did.
If it certainly felt like that. Did McBurty start and he wasn't 100%? I think he kicked 4 points that day, but he just wasn't fully on it, and they were targeting him with a lot of ball.
There was no crowd either.
No.
Yeah.
Like, those games were strange. Strange games.
That's
why Kerry. But
okay.
No, I can't see them taking their eye off the ball in this. I think that they're too experienced. They have an opportunity here. Like, they are seeing themselves as All-Ireland contenders. They're not going to go out
in the group,
mess it up. I don't think they're going to mess it up against Cavan this weekend.
I think Cavan will put on a good show for 55 minutes, and I just think I do think Cavan will put on a show. I think Cavan are ready to go for this one. And I think they're a championship team. I think they're a good championship team. I think defensively they'll be able to set up and be very difficult to break down. But I just think Donegal's shooters are going to have them on from out the field. I think Langan and Thompson are going to be very, very important this weekend for Donegal. As important as Ryan McHugh and Murphy and McBurty. I think Langan and Thompson are going to be very, very important.
Yeah. Langan must have had 12 shots at the post against Armagh.
Did he kick 3? Do you know? Yeah.
He kicked 3.
Usually he's a lot more on it, but I just think their long range shooters are going to come in handy this weekend.
Yeah.
Who's the best team Cavan have played this year?
Strongest team they've played.
Tip in the final, Division 4 final.
Tip.
Do you know, like
we watched that. I've watched Cavan twice, and it's I just feel like the pace of play when you're playing a Division 1 team as experienced as Donegal. I'm not for changing on this one. Donegal are going to win that.
Right. Now make the case for Andy Moran's Leitrim, Paddy. If Mayo had won that game,
Galway are going to win that game, I would say. The interesting thing for this is what way do Galway set up in this game where they're red hot favourites for? So there was a very specific game plan they had for Mayo with their defensive structure. Do they carry that forward, or do they go back to the more traditional side and just play 15-on-15 against Leitrim? I think Andy will have Leitrim well set up defensively to try and stifle that Galway attack. But it'd be interesting, no more so than Donegal. Like Donegal had a big win against their man, so you're looking, can they carry that momentum forward, or do they drop down a level? Does complacency come into it? Do they just go back and get into bad habits? The same with Galway. It's a massive win for them to go to Castlebar and win that game. Do they kick on now, or do they go easy on themselves? That we'll probably beat Leitrim. We're favourites. We've beaten Mayo, and they kind of plod through this game and win by 5 or 6 points. I'm interested to see how they set up. Do they keep? Is that now their system? Is that how Pádraig Joyce is going to set them up for all their games? I think that's the right thing to do. It's an opportunity to nail that structure, and if they do that, it can set them up for further down the championship. I expect them to win this game. I think Leitrim will try and frustrate Galway. They'll try and set them up, but they're just not going to have the scoring power, I feel, to get over that. And apologies to Andy. I hope I'm wrong. By God, I hope I'm wrong. But I think they're going to be up against it.
It'll be very interesting to see how Andy sets up the team, because he knows Galway inside out tactically.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big advantage for Leitrim there to have that knowledge. I think that Galway won't go as defensive. I think they'll, even mentally, there was an urgency to their defense against Mayo. I don't think they'll be as defensive.
That's just the point they're making. Like they need to nail that down. Yes, they've beaten Mayo, but the question marks over Galway over the last number of years is that consistency, really elite performances. Yes, you're favourites going into this Leitrim game, but you should go out and be ruthless. If Galway are serious about being All-Ireland contenders, which we were speaking about, when you go to Castlebar and beat Mayo, that's the bracket you're now pushing into, and that's what they would like to see themselves at. They should be going there, nail our defensive system. Don't give Leitrim a sniff and tear into them up front. That's what I'm interested to see from Galway. Or do they go down, go easy on themselves, pat themselves in the back, because we had a great win against Mayo, and go out and give a really patchy performance? Probably still win the game, because it's Division 1 team now against Division 4 team. But are Galway really going to be ruthless there? Is there a side to Galway mentality from them that says we're serious All-Ireland contenders? That's what I want to see from them.
But could they be ruthless, but not as defensive? Do you know, like I do think that they went a step above, or a step beyond what they're comfortable with against Mayo in terms of defensively.
But that's what they're going to do, Jimmy. If they're going to go to Croker
against the top teams, I agree.
And go and play Kerry, or go and play Dublin, or go and play whoever in Croker Park, they'll need to have that defensive setup. So this is an opportunity to nail it.
Yeah, it is. I agree. It would just be interesting to see if they go and they shoot the lights out, or do they take a few scores off the scoreboard and really concentrate on the good work they've done at the back.
It's finding that balance between defence and attack. Like that Derry did it really, really well yesterday. That they were solid, but they broke a pace and they were always a threat going forward.
Yes,
I think Galway were brilliant defensively against Mayo, but probably lacked a little bit up front.
Yeah,
that's what they're trying to get. That's why I think they should use this game to work on that.
Okay. All right.
We'll
so Galway.
I think Galway, unfortunately.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, can Leitrim's forwards do damage? Naturally enough, Andy has had them cooking nicely. Keith Byrne had an exceptional league. He was missing against London. Ryan O'Rourke has been moving very well. They're two lads that played Sigerson football in Maynooth under Johnny Doyle. So, their talents are well known across the country. So it'll be interesting to see, can they do damage in that front too? And their defensive structure, as James said, how will they set up and how Galway will deal with it? Like, we've gone with the three favourites there. Like, I don't know if we've ever seen a weekend of football where it is Cork are 14-1,
14 to 1. Wow.
Leitrim are also 14 to 1. The handicap in the Cork game is 11 points. Handicap in the Leitrim Galway game is 14 points. Donegal-Cavan, the handicap is only 5 points. So they're expecting a low scoring enough affair, but Donegal are 1-5 on. So that's how it's looking. I'm going to throw one question at you from the Football Pod listeners, and then we're going to move on to our fantasy Gaelic teams for the weekend. There's a lot of questions in, or a lot of comments in about penalties. Mick is saying that penalty shootouts aren't wanted in the GA. Dylan Nolan is saying,
sorry, Mick, get with the times, man.
Penalties are nonsense. It doesn't make sense for the GA. Ronan Lillis is saying, stop the penalties and let it go to a replay. We don't have time for replays in the calendar anymore. So, but
sorry, Ronan, you're out.
Ruthless from the one. But maybe there might be something to look at down the line. But look, for now, we'll take penalties for now. I really got excited when you were talking about your dream penalty shooters.
Yeah.
Keane Hastings.
Go on.
Any advice for a 14-year-old who missed a penalty to lose the Fela?
Get back on the horse, man. It's hard.
Absolutely.
Particularly defeats when you're younger can feel like it can be hard now, losing big games, particularly as a young player. But you just got to get back on it. Everyone has moments like that in their career. And the unfortunate thing, there'll probably be other moments like that as you go on, as you get older in your career. But that's just part of sport that builds that resilience. And you have to, what's the choice then? To give up and not go back? It takes courage to step up and take penalties in big games like that. So for that young lad, just keep practicing, get back out there, get back on the horse. You have to be able to deal with those setbacks. And it's a learning thing, particularly that's what it's, when you're in your teens, you're trying to learn to become a better player. And that's just part of the journey. So as unfortunate as it is at the time, just get back on the horse, man. You'll be fine. You'll be grand.
James, Joseph Dwyer, similar enough question, and I suppose you can tie it into Keane there. What's the best way to take penalties? You kind of gave us a little hint of it earlier on.
Well, you have to decide if your kick is strong enough to beat the keeper to the side that he's dived. If it is, then obviously you can just kick it hard into the corner, down low or up high. I went against that route because I didn't think that I had enough power on my shot to beat the keeper.
Only little legs, Jimmy.
Yeah, little tiny legs. I didn't have the power in my kick to go across the keeper. If he went the right way, he'd save it. So I used to always do a slow run up, wait till the keeper moved, give me a bit of an out and dip it the other way.
Phenomenal stuff. Like Jorginho, it is. Jorginho,
I love it.
But for Keane, the fact that he missed that penalty, so what? For God's sake, it's one incident. You'll have so many big games in your life, and you have to step up again. You have to do it again. And when you do score the next one, then it'll be such an unbelievable feeling that you overcame that. That tough.
Look at McGuigan yesterday. You could see that the ball hadn't even hit the net, and he was like, you could see how much it meant to him after missing a penalty earlier on this season. So it's just part and parcel of it.
Exactly. And I think, James, what you're saying there, being brave enough to put the hand up to say, I'll take this.
Yeah, that's the important bit. That's when you know that you're a player, when you can put the hand up again. But I heard Ronan O'Gara speaking one time, and he was like, when he was younger, he'd fear a penalty. A shot at the posts in a tight game or towards the end of a game, he'd say, please, just to the other team, don't foul, so I'll have to kick this. Yeah. And then by the end of his career, he was praying for that tight moment in the game that all the pressure was on him. Like, he turned it round, that he could take that pressure, and he thrived off it. He was like, please give me a shot at the post in the last second to win or to draw. Yeah. And a feeling of winning wasn't enough. He craved that responsibility in the game. I just thought
that's the resiliency.
I've heard him say that too. Yeah, 100%.
He missed. Was it the Heineken Cup final in 2000 where he missed against Southampton?
Yeah.
They lost by a point.
He took it really hard, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. He was only a youngster, and then look at what he did then. Allegedly.
I don't know if you heard that on Off the Ball, James, but he said it on Off the Ball a couple of weeks ago. I remember him saying it. I don't know if you've heard it previously before, but Raj, that is someone to learn from. How he bounced back.
Chatting to there last month. Great fella. Great bit of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll try and get him down to Castlebar. He'd be good fun.
He didn't have a good crack now in Castlebar.
So that is June 2nd. If you didn't hear earlier on, I was plugging the show. We are going to Castlebar on June 2nd this year. We're bringing the Football Pod live on the road. we may be having a penalty shootout on the night. That might be giving away a little something, but we have a couple of things lined up. We're going to be talking to a couple of Mayo legends. Myself, James, and Paddy are going to be there too. We can't wait for it. It's going to be great fun. It's in the Royal TF Theatre. You can check out otbsports.com/events for tickets, and also keep an eye on that page because we will be announcing very shortly the other venues and counties we'll be heading to later in the summer. So it's a brilliant place to be in, being able to bring the podcast on the road. And the only reason we've been able to do it is that we get such support every single week. So thank you very much to everyone who's listening to us from episode 1 last May on to now. It's nearly a year, Paddy. It's in May 14th, I think, is episode 1 last year. So we're nearly there. James, you've been a very natural fit coming in this year. You've been a perfect
super sub. Look at it. He's been phenomenal.
It was like you've been here since day one. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Fantasy football.
You talk about Andy so much. I feel like kind of the jealous new girlfriend or something. Like
that's not true. That's not true. You know,
love you, Jimmy.
We love you, James.
He's a legend, first.
Okay. Fantasy Football League. Kevin Ryan is top of the table. Howie now is the name of his team. He's from the Shrewd Glencorrib club. He got a score of 192 this week, 367 points. He had Fenton in midfield. Not one of his back 7 got a score. Paul Conroy didn't get a score because they weren't playing this weekend, but he had Fenton in midfield and his forward shot the lights out. Samuel Roy, 36 points. Shane McGuigan, 23 points. Jack McCarran, 27. Darren McCurry, 14. Connor Cox, 23. And Owen Cleary, 22. He had Desi Farrell as his boss. John Martin, low ball and high is the name of his team, from Cornafane in County Cavan. 183 points, your second. And Paddy McNally from Carmarthen Shamrocks and Monaghan, the Shamrocks 15. You're in 335. Just to mention another, it's because it's jumping out of me here, another Monaghan man, Shane Rice. You might know Ricey on Instagram. He's a coach with the Monaghan ladies, and he's a fitness coach. You might have come across his stuff. A team of bluffers from Scottstown, 232 points this week. He had Banty as his manager, Began in goals, Connor Boyle fullback who kicked the point, Ethan Doherty wing back, Dean Rock, Mulroy, Connor Sweeney, John Heston was his captain with 46 points, Jimmy Hyland and Connor Cox shot the lights out too, and then the Smith in midfield with 29 points. Very, very impressive going on the Fantasy Football League. We've got about 200 entrants.
I was looking at it today. I didn't count my first week scores.
I'm gonna have to get on to the
glitch in the matrix.
I'm gonna have to get on to the tech.
I
think I'd be in the top 30.
Okay, we'll have a look at that now, because
I'm in the bottom 5%.
If you entered the league and there was a glitch on their end, we'd be able to get you in. But if you missed the boat, James, there's very little we can do about that.
You added me automatically for the league one, and then you changed the rules.
Connor Doherty got me 24 points at centre back. I picked Donny Smith instead of Connor Cox. Donny, you're going to have to do a bit more scoring the next day out. You only got 7 points for me. Connor Cox got 23. I picked Kieran Kilkenny ahead of Con. Made that mistake.
I didn't have to. I had Fenton in my team, so I'm in business, surely.
Fenton had 35 points. So yeah, you had Fenton in your team as well.
Updating it all weekend in Paris. It was fun.
So look at bit of crack. We'll see how it goes next week. Paddy, I don't know whether you want to make any changes. Paddy Durkin is in your defence. McAnespy got 3 points here. McGeary and Hart only got a point apiece.
Oh, gee. I need to get rid of the throne, lads.
Dean Rock is your full forward. I don't know whether you'll be changing that now that Connor's back, or you'll be adding in.
I work with Dean, so probably have to keep him on side. Like.
And Jimmy Hyland's in there with 23 points as well. And the Smith. You got a lot of return from your midfield. 134 points this week was good going. Bad. James, your return, we spoke about it last week. You had a savage first week. Not worth talking about this week.
What did he get?
I'll have to go dug it out here one time.
I had Sam Mulroy. I had Enda Smith.
All right.
I had
Peter Hart.
James
got Highland. I had Highland.
104 points. Costello full forward, 26 points. Smith in midfield, as you said. Robbie McDade was your Dublin defender, and you got a point apiece from Keoghan, Hart, and McGeary.
So Jimmy I would Hyland. Be on. I think I got 171 and 104. Right. So I'd be on 275. What are you on?
275.
Am I winning this? Like?
No, you're quite low down. I'm on 192, so you'd be ahead of me. 275.
We'll have a look at it this week.
Yeah, we'll have a look at it this week. I don't know if there's a transfer window opened up.
And Sean O'Shea, don't they?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
No, there's no transfer window for a while, let's say.
Yeah, no transfer
this weekend. So,
yeah, James, that score would have you in the top 50. So you're a long way off some of our listeners. Listen, lads, I think we're going to leave it there. Episode 15 of the Football Pod. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. And thank you very much for everyone for listening in. Any last words before you enter into the Parky Rin, James?
Just come on, the kingdom. Start of a new journey. I'll tell you what, it's exciting for Kerry, but I think that comfortable win onto bigger things.
Oh,
Paddy was getting excited last week. James Dunn is getting excited this week. The football is back. Good night, folks.
good night, gents.